What is up, YouTube? It's the Tone Viking, and today we're going to be talking about effects pedals. When you basically, after you get your tone how you want it on your guitar, it's going to go out to your effects pedals before it gets to the amp. So we're going to just show you basically all the types of effects pedals you can kind of get. The first one that I'm going to show you is the one that's actually the most underused but the most useful, and that's just simply a volume pedal. When you're playing with somebody, the volume pedal is gonna keep you from drowning everybody out. You may have a loud part where you play, but then when you go to a rhythm part, if you kept it at that volume, you may drown everybody out. So you can use your foot to just back off the volume just a little, but then pump it up when you solo. And so on. It's the most useful thing you can have if you're actually playing with people. In the studio, it's not so big a deal. The next one I'm going to show you is fuzz. And really what's going on with fuzz is early amps didn't have a distortion channel. How they started getting distortion is just cranking them all the way up so they overdrove the tubes basically in the amps, and they started to distort. People realized this is an awesome sound, so they started making pedals and starting to build stuff like that. And the first ones were fuzz pedals. If I play a little Hendrix here, you'll start to recognize what a fuzz pedal sounds like. It's very recognizable. When they actually started making specific just distortion pedals, let's try a metal distortion pedal. Makes it easy to get feedback. But you'll hear that it's a lot more gain in it, basically. Just like that. How you set it up will depend on the style. If you had a really mellow distortion, it would add just to the blues and stuff like that. After distortion, probably the next one I use is probably a delay. A delay is basically a way of saying an echo. So if I hit the guitar, you hear that repeats. With a pedal, you can determine how long it's going to repeat, how loud the repeats are, how many times it repeats. Usually when I use a repeat, it's for solos, or it's used for like a clean guitar sort of rhythm riffing sort of thing, like. You can tweak those for hours and get different delays for different things. You can add compressors, you can add EQs. Those are pretty self-explanatory. The next thing you might think about is a wah pedal, basically. A wah pedal is a filter suite, basically. As the pedal is down, it's more of the bass sound, and as it goes up, it's more of the treble sound. So here's just here's it down, and here's it up. If you could probably hear this a lot in funk, like. Like that. You can also add distortion to it. If you do add distortion to it, make sure you add the distortion before the wah pedal. It just sounds better in my opinion. Just like that. Pretty hip. Next thing I'd probably show you is some modulation stuff. Flangers, chorus, phasers, tremolos, all that's kind of modulating the a delay sort of thing. I won't get into individuals, but I will let you hear out sounds. Let's kick up this distortion here. So it's kind of a sweeping sound as it kind of moves around. That's how a flanger is. Let's also look here. What else we got? Pitch. We can have a harmonator. It harmonizes a scale you choose and adds a note into it. You kind of have to play around with those. You have to be really in tune. Otherwise, it just doesn't work very well. There's an octave thing where it can make you sound lower or higher. Kind of cool if you like a bass line or something like that. It would be cool with some fuzz probably too. The Whaminator is probably the next thing that people use a lot. It's pretty cool. I actually haven't used it a whole lot. What it does is it plays the note as you move the pedal an octave higher as it goes. So as if I just play a note, then move the pedal up, it takes it up an octave. You can do whole chords. There's a little melody lines. Usually you hear it with some distortion. Probably not my best example. I don't use one very often, but it's kind of one of the last different sort of things you can look at as far as pedals go. The last thing I should mention is there's some people are asking what the difference is between drive, overdrive, distortion, gain. They're really all the same sort of thing. Typically, if you see something that says overdrive, drive, it's a gain, but maybe it's not as extreme as distortion or whatever. But they all do the same thing. They add that sort of extra harmonics, extra gain, distortion. There's just different names for it. Fuzz, overdrive, gain, distortion. If you see that on your amp or a pedal, it's all going to do pretty much the same thing. So don't get confused on that. Next, we'll talk about amps. So we'll get into that. So as always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you stay out of trouble.